like it in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we are here for another Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires weekend of the hallowed ground that is IMS. Fantastic racetrack, the road course here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway using the front straightaway, and then of course Holman Boulevard, the long straightaway in the middle of the racetrack that leads down into turn number 7. Hello folks, my name is Rob Howden here live from the Road to Indy Hospitality Center just inside the racetrack here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Joining me, Kiko Porto from D-Force Racing, the reigning USF2000 champion. Kiko, back at Indianapolis. There's nothing like coming under the bridge out into this amazing racetrack.
Like, this track is very special for me. I got my first podium here in 2020.
That's it.
In my first year in USF. So what a racetrack. What a good track to race to. I think it's one of the best track to the spectators look, because have a good chance of opportunity to pass, good big straights, a lot of draft. So it's one of the best track for everybody for race, definitely.
Yeah, it's a fantastic racetrack, built, of course, inside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Formula One a number of years ago. Some minor changes, a little different configuration that has played to a lot more passing down into turn number 7, as you all know. Big weekend for us here with the Road to Indy at IMS. It's a triple header for both USF2000 and the Indy Pro category. So having gotten our first couple of races in the books of the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg and Barber Motorsports Park with double headers. 3 races, lots of chances for points as the drivers here right now in USF2000 pulling out of the paddock. You know this, Kiko. It's an important racetrack to win at. You got your first podium here. But when it comes to the championship, and we'll talk about what you're doing in Indy Pro 2000, you have a good weekend here as a triple header. It can really launch you into the middle half of the season.
Yeah, like last year, I don't have a good qualify here. Qualified just P6 and grab the win.
Yeah.
So this is a really good track to have this opportunity to fight. And here, very important race weekend, because after that we have Lucas. And we know in Oval is very important to have a good quali. And you start in the qualifying looking not that good. So just for you guys know, the guys are on leading on the championship is one of the last guys to quali in Lucas.
That's it.
So this race weekend will be so important for the teams to really have a good position to qualify Lucas. And then this race, I think, mark a little bit of what the championship is going, in what direction, and triple header, 3 races.
Exactly that. And as he said, this is an important racetrack, because from here we go to the Freedom 75 and the Freedom 90 at Indianapolis Raceway Park. They've rebranded it back to IRP again, and as Kiko had said, changes things around in terms of the way qualifying goes. So you come out of here with a point lead, you put yourself into an advantageous position when we get to that 5/8 mile oval in a couple of weeks' time. Let's go back to this racetrack here as well. You talked about it, 2 long straightaways. St. Petersburg, tough to pass. Barber Motorsports Park, tough to pass. Here, though, Kiko, there's a lot of opportunity. The long straightaways with the slipstream into turn 1, into turn number 7, the 2 primary passing opportunities.
For sure, Indy Pro is a little bit more difficult compared to USF, because this car have a more aero, and the aero depends a lot. And when you got the aero wash from the cars in the front, you lost a lot of grip. In USF, don't have that much problem, but it's still a good track to you race and have this opportunity to pass. You know, the draft here is massive.
Yep.
So this is one of the best plays to have a good exit and get this opportunity on the brake zones.
You have experience here, so talk about the racetrack itself a bit as well. It is one of the probably the smoothest track we run on throughout the season. How does that change setup-wise, or does it at all?
Like, I think this track used the setup a little bit close to Road America 1 because I have the big straights. But how flat is, so you really depends about the aerodynamic part of the setup, because the grip, the chassis, the grip without the narrow stuff is really important. But when you come here and you have long straight, you need to get low in narrow package. It's very difficult, and tiny bits of the setup make all the difference.
Big thing today in qualifying, of course, was the fact that it was pretty hot yesterday. We had a couple of test sessions, hour-long test sessions for each series, and then official practice yesterday afternoon. Qualifying was this morning at 8 a.m. for USF2000, only 64 degrees. It was mid-80s and humid yesterday, so it kind of changed things around and presented all the drivers with a different equation, a different set of challenges throughout the session. Jagger Jones ended up being on the pole position, his first career pole for Cape Motorsports. But the driver on the outside, very exciting as well, Alex Quinn from the UK, coming over through a new collaboration between Velocity Racing Development and Arden Motorsports in Europe. Having Quinn come over here, we're hearing maybe Nico Christodoulou from VRD will run some races with Arden later in the season. Alex came out of the gate, was the quickest driver in the second session yesterday, and then went P2. I talked to him earlier, and he said one of the things he was battling with was how to get grips on really maximizing, getting everything out of the Cooper tires during qualifying. And Kiko, you can speak to that. When you come to a new series and you're on a new tire you've never been on, that's one of the things you're challenged with, right? You struggle with making sure you get everything out of that tire during qualifying.
Yeah, because after some laps you really get the feel of the car, but to maximize this grip is very difficult, because especially in Indy Pro, it's not a car you really accept that much to pass the limit. In USF, when you pass the limit, you have some momentum of snap, oversteering, but you can fix this. The Indy Pro, you have the grip, but you need to respect this grip. You can't pass that much, and this is really tough to really use the maximum you can, but without being that much aggressive. So this is very difficult.
You were on the track yesterday for the testing, and then this morning for qualifying. And the temperature didn't rise that much up for your qualifying because Indy Pro was right after USF2000. How much different was the racetrack from your point of view?
Man, like compared to the last two sessions yesterday and this morning, the car completely different. The track is different, brake points different. So this change of temperature is very tricky, especially for the team to get a really good setup between the different part of the day. And other thing, when have the grip of the rubber of the Indy car, everything changed again. So it's very tricky to you. It's very easy you get lost in some part of the setup, but you need to really pay attention on this because make a lot of difference.
Yeah, since qualifying, IndyCar's already been out for their first session. Indy Lights is on the racetrack right now, so it's going to be a much different racing surface when USF2000 drivers get ready to roll. And one of the things about this track is, again, Kiko Porto from D-Force Racing joining us here on the pre-show before USF2000 goes racing. The starts here are very interesting, Kiko, because it's one of the longest straightaways from coming out to the yard of bricks and start all the way down to turn number one. If you're starting on pole, what's your thought? If you're Jagger Jones, what are you thinking at the start of this race?
Man, my last two races when I started on pole here into 2020 was not that good because the straight is so big, so give the opportunity to the P3, P4, P5, and the P4 too to really get a good draft. P2 is not the best position here because you normally jump out a little bit slower than a P1, and the guys on the back have a good draft. Yeah. So it's not that easy, but if you really defend the inside part and brake late, and other problem here, the inside part don't have this grip.
So that's it right there.
It's very, very tough. But I think if you have a good jump and really maximize the brake zones, you can stay on P1.
Oh, one of the things he said, this is one of the widest racetracks that we run on. We'll run all the way down to turn 7 through Hellman Boulevard, but this front straightaway is unbelievably wide. If you've never watched a USF2000 or Indy Pro 2000 race from Road America, get ready, because it'll probably be 3, 4, maybe 5 wide coming down into turn number 1. And as Kiko had said, the poles are down on the dirty part of the racetrack. The line's obviously up by the wall. You're down by the bottom on the pole. Man, there's no grip down there. It could be dirty down there as well, so you might have to brake a little bit earlier. Everybody else charging from behind, and it really funnels down into that, that turn 1, turn 2 complex. Very tough opening couple of corners, but if you can get out of those corners with the lead, pretty solid. You're working your way out through 4, 5, 6. And the big run down to turn number 7 where you're going to get attacked again. This is a great racetrack in terms of overtake, a lot of great racing. The opening couple corners, though, will be absolutely crucial. Kiko Porter's going to head back to his paddock because he's got to get ready for his race later on this afternoon. USF2000 drivers are going to the grid here right now as well. Before we jump up into driver introductions, let's have a look back at the 2021 season. Measuring out at 2.39 miles and snaking through 17 corners that include the famed Alabama roller coaster and Charlotte's Web hairpin, Barber Motorsports Park would once again present a supreme challenge to the drivers in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Pabst Racing's Miles Rowe arrived in Birmingham coming off an emotional win at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, and he knew that he needed solid results if he's to find the funding he needs to continue the season. Rowe immediately set the tone for the weekend, qualifying on the pole for race 1 ahead of D-Force Racing's Bajoy Guard. In the 20-lap race, Rowe pulled out to the immediate lead and was never challenged en route to his second win of the season and third of his young career. The best pass of the weekend came late in the race when exclusive Autosports Billy Fraser set up Simon Sykes heading into the tough Turn 7-8 complex, pulling a classic over-under to take second as Sykes defended to the inside of the track. There may have been a little contact, but the move was executed to perfection. Fraser would drive home to second following the overtake, and he and Rowe were joined by Cape Motorsports' Michael D'Orlando in victory lane. Turn 3 Motorsports' Christian Weir was the best at extracting the most out of his used tires to take the pole, but when the race went green, the Cape duo of Jagger Jones and Michael D'Orlando muscled their way through to take over the lead. In a race that went green to checker, Jones kept his teammate at bay to score his first career USF2000 win in only his fourth start. D'Orlando logged yet another podium result, putting him in a tie with Rowe for the championship point lead. Weir held on for a strong third, the first podium finish of his young Road to Indy career. The USF2000 drivers put their skills and racecraft on display at Barber, and they'll all be looking to improve as they head to the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway in May to tackle the 2.439-mile road course in the racing capital of the world.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
One of the most exciting additions to the Cooper Tires USF2000 paddock this year is a legendary name in motorsports, and that is Jones. And of course, talk right now to Jagger Jones here, the grandson, of course, the icon Parnelli Jones. But you're here to make a name for yourself, correct? Talk a little bit about getting into this program, how it's been so far.
Well, it's been great. The whole USF2000 series, it's been so welcoming for me. I've been racing some stock car stuff, grew up racing go-karts, but last few years been racing oval stuff. So this has been a little bit of a transition, but so far it's been going pretty well. And I love IndyCar racing. This is a great series. Cooper Tires Road to Indy has created such a great ladder system, and that's really one of the reasons that drew me here. And I'm really looking forward to this whole year and this new adventure, really.
One of the things that makes it so exciting of having Jagger here is, like he said, a different approach to coming into the program. He was a champion karter when he was younger, but instead of following the footsteps of so many drivers into open wheel racing, you went stock car racing. You went super late model racing. You ran in the ARCA Menards West Series as well. How much different is that? What was the transition like coming from the big, heavy stock cars to a Formula car?
Well, basically everything that I've learned from that stuff, out the window. It's basically it's like learning how to walk completely over. And I think like the transition has been going pretty well. I've grown up racing different things. I've done some off-road stuff. I've gotten to drive some road course stuff a little bit here and there. So I definitely have a little more well-rounded background than you see most people just stay in one type of category. So I think that's kind of played into some of my strengths of kind of relearning everything. But you see someone like Jimmy Johnson coming from stock car racing, having to relearn everything. It's not easy because the whole braking, the cars are less than half the amount weight-wise as the stock car stuff I was racing. So it's basically relearning everything, but so far so well. Yesterday, little learning experience on the whole racing. These drivers are really aggressive, and they're short races. I'm used to a little bit longer races, so that's a different thing.
Every race is obviously going to be new for him, a new racetrack to learn. We'll talk later about maybe one track you're looking forward to, but you are going to get a chance to kind of, to a certain extent, go back to a comfort zone when we get on the oval at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. You're looking forward to the Freedom 75?
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven something too similar to this on an oval, but obviously oval racing is something I've done a lot, so maybe that'll pay a little bit into strengths, but still, it's going to be a learning curve as well. The whole aero is so different in these cars than it is on a stock car on an oval, but really looking forward to that.
The Jones surname, of course, very connected to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well. Jagger, you're going to get a chance to drive there, race there. You were quickest, actually, last year at the Chris Griffiths test there. How excited are you to get to IMS in May?
Yeah, the Chris Griffiths test last year was probably, I think it was my third time in the car, and it went really well. We led basically the whole weekend. So really looking forward to getting back there. It's a super fun track, and just the history of that place. When you walk in, you get the chills. No matter who you are, if you're Jones like myself or just anyone, getting to drive across the bricks was super cool, and I'm really looking forward to racing there this year.
Tons of talent, of course, here in USF2000 this year. If you want a driver to root for throughout the entire season, try Jagger Jones.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduro Maxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, It's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers. It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
What should be a tremendous race in the very first rung of this Road to Indy Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Drivers have rolled out here. Of course, the pit lane vacated by Indy Lights, the series where every one of those drivers eventually wants to get to.
So it's an interesting day for these drivers. They started out bright and early as we started this morning, and there we see a cow. Wow, we saw this cowling coming off. I didn't see that a little bit earlier today.
That's Michael D'Orlando.
D'Orlando did not see that happen. Well, that just happened. So they were rolling out of the pit area. Obviously, the crews are going over those cars. They forgot to lock down the engine cowling.
Indeed, that can happen. Not normally with the guys at Cape Motorsports. So an issue there with Michael D'Orlando. Again, the rear engine cowl coming off. So field set, though, you can see that's a big field. 23 drivers. There's a bunch of new drivers as well, Michael, making their debut here this weekend.
We talked about, I was getting ready to say before we saw Michael D'Orlando's cowling come off, but it's been a busy day. We started the day with USF2000 drivers. They got their first look of the morning with different conditions that they saw yesterday, but now they're back racing just 3 hours later.
Yeah, in our pre-show, I talked to Kiko Porto, last year's USF2000 champion who runs an Indy Pro 2000 this year on the Road to Indy Scholarship, how much different it was. He said everything was different, Michael. The cornering, your braking zones. It was almost 20 degrees cooler this morning. Starting to get back up to the temperatures once again, but definitely a different conditions for these drivers as they come in now. Indy Car's been on the racetrack. Indy Lights have been on track. The rubber, the grip, the line is going to change for this race.
And the temperatures have changed as well, so things ever evolving at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for this first rung of the Road to Indy ladder. Race fans, we're about to see our first race of this race weekend. Rob Howden joins us in the public address booth. Let's meet the drivers who will start today's USF2000 race.
23 drivers in total getting set to go for the first run, starting at the tail of the field from Mexico. Jorge Garcias for J. Howard Driver Development in the number 9, starting 23rd. Moving up into row number 11, starting on the outside in the number 7, rookie driver driver for Jay Howard, it is Yoru Lee, coming from the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series. Inside of that row, a driver will make his debut in the Road to Indy here this weekend. Frankie Mossman, out of the Southwest, in the number 6 for Jay Howard Driver Development in the 21st position. And moving up to row number 10, Danny Dzelski, just 14 years of age. Dzelski in the number 8 machine for Jay Howard Driver Development, starting in 20th. Inside of that row, the driver you're seeing right there, that is Jacob Douglas in the exclusive Autosport number 90. Douglas out of New Zealand, starting 19th. This is Nicky Hay, starting in the 18th position for Cape Motorsports, the rookie driver with a ton of talent. In that number 5 machine, he'll start 18th. Inside, keep an eye on this driver here for Velocity Racing Development. Victor Anderson in the number 30 from Sweden had a little bit of an issue in qualifying. Much quicker in practice yesterday, qualified P5. Anderson in that number 30. Watch for him to work his way forward. They've got some gremlins dialed in. He'll start 17th, but he has the pace to run inside the top 10. Into row number 8 on the outside for Joe Dueling Autosport and Curb Agajanian. It's Trey Burke in the number 63, starting in the 16th position, second-year driver in the series. Alongside him, Dylan Christie in the number 11. Christie for D-Force Racing in the 15th position inside of row number 8. We'll go to row number 7 now, starting on the outside. Christian Weir, he was on pole at Barber Motorsports Park. Needs a little more speed here right now. He and his teammate Spike Kohlbecker from turn 3. Motorsports starting on row 7. Weir on the outside in the number 32 in the 14, and Kohlbecker on the inside in the number 33. Row 6 has Jackson Lee, driver from Avon, Indiana, for Cape Motorsports in the number 2, starting 12th. And on the inside, a tremendous rookie debut for the Texan Chase Gardner in the number 13 for D-Force. First ever start in USF2000. Gardner will do that from the inside of row number 6. Row 5, 2 drivers to watch out for. It is the exclusive Autosport duo of Billy Fraser and Joey Brienza. Fraser on the outside in the number 92 from New Zealand. And it will be Brienza on the inside. First start in USF2000 for Brienza as well. His scheduled to start 9th. Moving now to row number 4 on the outside, Simon Sykes, multi-time SCCA National Championship runoffs winner in the number 19 for Legacy Autosport, starting in the 8th position. And on the inside, the driver that comes in here as the point leader. 2 race wins on the season so far, and that is Miles Rowe for Pabst Racing in the number 22. Engines firing down on pit lane right now as they've been given the call to fire up these elite engines. Steve and Logan Knapp, the engine builders. Of course, Steve Knapp, a former Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year. Great to have him as part of our program. Again, it will be Miles Rowe starting in the 7th position. Moving up to row number 3, Bejoy Garg for D-Force Racing, the number 12 starting on the outside, a 125.816. Fast time for him puts him P6. And on the inside, the driver who had the issue with the cowling when he came onto the racetrack, Michael D'Orlando, who comes in to the points battle here in 2nd. Finished 2nd last year in the championship. A P5 start for Michael D'Orlando. We'll see whether or not they were able to get that cowl back on the car of D'Orlando. Moving now up to row number 2, starting on the outside, Jace Denmark, 4th in points coming off a victory in the opening round at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Denmark out of Arizona in the Radford Racing School, number 23, starting 4th. And on the inside, a winner from last year at Road America out of Quebec, Canada. It is the D-Force driver, Thomas Naveau, in the number 10, starting in 3rd. 23 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row, and we've got an American and we've got a Brit on the outside. His debut here in USF2000 for Velocity Racing Development. Talent for sure. The rookie Alex Quinn in the number 17, starting on the outside of the front row, a 125.491. Just missed the pole by about 7/100ths of a second. I talked to him beforehand, said he just couldn't quite maximize those Cooper tires. First time qualifying on them. He ends up P2. But the name that you'll see on the top of the charts right now, a legendary name here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Jagger Jones, the grandson of the great Parnelli Jones, starting on the pole position. 125.425. Jones and Quinn, Michael Young, starting on the front row.
As the field makes their way to the north end of the circuit, they will come by and begin their formation lap, now making their way through turn number 7, our first race of this race weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Field make their way through turn number 8. And Rob, this is one of the most important parts, not only of any race, but for these young drivers. patience is the virtue, have to get through turn 1 cleanly.
Well, that turn 1 is so interesting here. It's not a turn 1 we see at many racetracks. It's one of the longest runs from the green flag down to the braking zone of turn 1. It's also the widest part of the racetrack. We end up going 4 and 5 wide. So if you're watching on Road to Indy TV, one of the platforms, on the app, whatever it may be, you're going to see a wild start here for sure. I've got a driver analyst who will join me. We'll bring him in on the end of the probably first lap or second lap. Elliott Cox, the Indianapolis driver in our USF Juniors program, will be our driver analyst here today. So Elliott will come and join me here momentarily to give us some insight into competition. We'll hopefully see him in the Road to Indy in the next couple of years. But away we go. Drivers working their way through the final couple of corners. We'll line them back up. Jones and Quinn on row 1. Naveau and Denmark, row 2. D'Orlando and Garg, row 3. Rowe and Sykes, row 4. Fraser and Gardner on row number 5. Time to go racing with the Road to Indy, the first wheel-to-wheel battle of the weekend. Coming down to look for the green flag here from Aaron Likens. Lining up nicely. Green, green, green. And a great launch for Jagger Jones as he will hold the position as we have a wing. One of the wings got knocked off. That's going to change someone's day very quickly. They'll go 4, 5 wide into turn. They get 6 wide into turn 1. Can they get through cleanly? Couple drivers locking up. Otherwise, decent so far through 1. One of the D-Force drivers checking up a bit through turn number 2, Michael, but all well and good. We know one driver with some damage with the wing, but otherwise coming through 3 and 4 cleanly.
That could easily have been one of the drivers that we saw falling back to the outside there. Jagger Jones, though, what a great launch as he makes his way through the opening couple of court turns. But we had a driver in the back of the field running off through that switchback, got into the grass.
Yeah, that switchback is tough. That turn 4-5 or 5-6 combination, you have to get around because you can see that driver was launched over top. It's a pretty aggressive curb. You have to get through there to cut that corner. Potential penalty coming for that driver who did not get through. And the caution flag is flying, very likely, Michael, for that front wing sitting on the front straightaway.
Yeah, certainly we hope that this would not be the case, but we, after a clean start to this, we're going to have to try it all again, albeit be it next time we'll do it single file. But the drivers did a fantastic job on that start.
Let's bring in Elliott Cox on this one. Elliott, you've been in a ton of starts. You've done a lot of karting around the Indianapolis area, national karting as well. I've watched you and called many of your races. You race at Whiteland, you race at Newcastle Motorsports Park. You're running in our USF Juniors program with Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development. Starts are tough, as you know, right? Especially at a track like this, so you'll get a chance to race like that next year. What are your thoughts now? You've got yourself so focused. You got the mindset for the start, but now you have to redo it all again. What do you do to press the reset button?
To reset for the start, you just have to calm down, get back into race mode. Even if there's a restart, you have to stay mentally focused. If you're the leader and you got a good start, it might be frustrating, but you just have to try to do it again to the best of your ability. And if it doesn't work out, just race back from where you go.
And I would expect you'd probably have your spotter or your engineer, your driver coach in your ear on the radio right now.
Yeah, you'll have your driver coach in your ear telling you just to calm down, telling you just to stay in it, keep your head down, and get going again.
Get back at it.
It'll be good.
You talk about intensity and calming down. You just got started. How much can you back down that intensity? Because obviously you got to stay prepared for a restart. You already have the adrenaline going. It's got to be hard to do.
It's difficult, definitely, to calm down. If you get a good start or a bad start, the adrenaline's pumping either way. Maybe you had some contact with another driver, might be angry. You just have to take that time to reset.
So paybacks, is that become an issue right out of the gate? If you had somebody blow by you, maybe forced you into a turn or took advantage of maybe a position, do you have to keep all of that in check? And remember, it's a very long race.
You do, definitely. With these races, they take 30 to 45 minutes. You have to remember that you can use all that time to the best of your ability to reset and just keep going.
Going to work on the car of Nicky Hayes right now on pit lane. Front damage to his. That was actually, what about his wing? Yeah, that was the wing of Nicky Hayes, who started deeper in the field. Hayes started back in 18th position. We will update that Joey Brienza, I did mention him in the entry. Joey's only going to run one race this particular weekend. To keep your rookie status in USF2000, to get a chance to run for Rookie of the Year, you can only run 4 races on the year, or 3 races, I believe, on the year. So he will run 3 separate weekends and try to do 1 race each weekend, get a chance to get a feel for the track itself ahead of a full program in USF2000 next year. So we'll see Joey Brienza, Michael, in race number 2.
So the field makes their way through the south end of the course. Expect to see a restart this time by, as we saw the number 5 of Hayes sitting on pit lane. The reason for this caution, losing that wing of the front of the car. So, Rob, we will try it again as the field starts to streak out of turn number 13. Pace car moves its way down onto pit lane, and the field will make their way out of 14. We're green here again in Indianapolis.
And as Elliott told us, keep your head down. You're back at it. Single file start, a little bit different. We're going to battle a little further back between a couple of the D-Force drivers. Dylan Christie and Bajoy Garger going to go side by side. Great shot from the back here. And this is how tough it is. You're kind of coming off the banking a little bit, down the hill, into a very tough 1-2 complex. It is tight coming through there. Drivers doing a great job so far here in USF2000. Jagger Jones handling the issue. Another issue, the number 2 coming in as well. That's Jackson Lee. Jackson Lee into pit lane in front of us here, folks, with front wing damage as well. So 2 of the Cape cars, actually 3 of the 4 Cape cars having issues, along with D'Orlando and the cowl at the start. He was able to get into his position. But Jagger Jones leading the way right now, looking good. Look at this side-by-side battle further back. They went 3 wide coming down into turn number 7. And Michael, how many times have we saw great racing into turn 7? Because if you're blocked to the inside, the over-unders there is just aggressive racing up front.
And Miles Rowe did a heck of a job to take the lead away from Jagger Jones. Now Miles Rowe will check out 3 car lengths over Quinn. Now Jones will fall to 3rd.
We got some seriously aggressive racing here in the opening lap. Miles Rowe able to take the lead. Not sure what happened to Jagger Jones, as he looked pretty comfortable coming out of turn number 4 on that opening lap after going greening out of the restart. Though Miles Rowe working his way back forward again. We'll talk a lot about Miles throughout the weekend, but here's a guy right now that just does not have the budget to continue racing. I think he has enough to potentially go to the Oval in 2 weeks' time, but he's just trying to find the budget to keep going. He's the point leader right now. It's one of those cases where you just don't have the funding to go racing, but Michael, he's showing everything. Look at this battle here as well. That's Simon Sykes going at it with D'Orlando and Denmark. 4 drivers in there, 2 wide coming down into turn number 1, and a battle for the lead. Alex Quinn, no one's told him that he has to be easy. Remember, he's not in the championship fight. He doesn't have to be patient. He's not going to be in this title. He wants to win. He wants to come over here, dominate the boys on the road to Indy, and go back to Europe and say, I got this next year. Let's get some funding. I want to go to the road to Indy next season.
Well, Alex Quinn not only going for the lead, that allowed Jagger Jones to jump back in. It was almost a 3-way battle as they make their way down into turn number 7. Quinn to the outside and Rowe to the inside, but Jagger Jones trying to make the move for second.
I want to see that white car you're seeing coming through first is very likely Nicky Hayes after getting the repair, getting back out front. So that's not indeed one of the Cape cars up front. That's the car of Nicky Hayes back onto the racetrack. Here they come again, working their way out of that infield section of the track, and a Rowe with the lead in the number 22 for Pabst Racing. Already a couple of wins on the docket for him this year. Had the big wreck, Michael, in the opening round. He was battling it out with Thomas Naveau on the final lap for the win in the opening race of the season at St. Petersburg, but then was able to put that away. And like the struggle, you think about that. You have no budget. You wreck the first day. But then to come back the next day and get the victory, that I think showed the mark of Miles Rowe more than anything else to start the season.
So the field makes her way down the front straightaway, battles further back as Rowe leads Quinn down into turn number 1. They go 2 wide, and Quinn takes a move to the inside. He touches with Rowe. And Jagger Jones now battles back to the outside. The field makes her way to turn 3.
Big move for Quinn to the bottom. You saw he did not want to give that up. A great angle from the back there. You can see the drivers kind of turn themselves in. This has allowed Jagger Jones to go back to P1. Did the full over-under on those drivers. And I'll tell you, I guarantee that Jones, for a while there, was battling it out. I think it was with his teammate D'Orlando. He watched those 2 guys stretch away and probably thought, hey, listen, we got to relax here, because if they pull away, we're in trouble. Instead, they went and started battling. That has allowed Jagger Jones to come back up. And I want to say it's the top 7 there right now, Michael.
It is a great battle as we watch Jagger Jones out in the lead. Great battle between Quinn and Rowe. They are battling for that second position. It's Quinn and Rowe battling. Then again, it's Quinn in that second position. Actually, Rowe was underneath him in turn number 10, but he's able to clear himself. Quinn now with a 1 car length advantage over Miles Rowe.
I actually had someone talk to me earlier today saying, yeah, these races, they kind of get processional sometimes. I'm like, listen, this is USF2000. The draft plays such a role here at this racetrack that even if you're super quick, a guy could get right behind you, especially in a lead like this. They're going to reel him right in. It's now, of course, Jagger Jones across the line. There's the lead. That's Hayes. Here comes Jones into the picture from the bottom, and you'll see the gap that he has. Shrinks down a bit, and in fact, Billy Fraser now up into the fight. That's Billy Fraser in the Corpay machine for Exclusive Autosport. Side by side through turn number 2. He's battling with Rowe.
Fraser had a run down that front straightaway, got alongside Miles Rowe, trying to take over that third position. Jagger Jones with about, yes.
Drivers off, drivers off. We've got 2 drivers connected. I think that may be Billy Fraser and Michael D'Orlando. I saw Fraser coming across from the outside over to turn number 4 before getting to 5 and 6. And I want to say that D'Orlando is down the inside, so that could be Billy Fraser and Michael D'Orlando off over in turn number 4. And that will be full course yellow because those one of them stranded out in the gravel trap. So this thing came to a head here on lap.
Oh, more
5.
contact.
There is more contact. That's coming through the 7-8 complex. Or actually 7, that's 8 and 9. Through 10. Again, so inviting to try to make a move to the inside there, but you've got to get it done. And there's Aaron Likens there with the full course yellow again for USF2000. Michael, you mentioned it right off the gate. You said patience, right? And that's just not what we're seeing right now. 2 drivers off, as we said, over in turn number 6, 5, and 6, or the outside of turn 4. We figure out which drivers those. The 22, potentially one of the drivers involved there. That would be Miles Rowe. So Rowe was involved in that. It might have been Rowe and D'Orlando, not Fraser. Let's see as they come by. No, Billy Fraser's up into 3rd. So those of you back in New Zealand cheering for Billy Fraser, I apologize. There's the replay of it. And that indeed was D'Orlando and Rowe getting together. 2 championship contenders. This is the other wreck. That is Simon Sykes getting into the back of a driver as well. So a bunch of contact. Let me just show you this first, Michael, real quickly. Miles Rowe, Michael D'Orlando, that was 1st and 2nd in the championship points. That blows things wide open.
And it looked like Fraser got around Rowe, and then D'Orlando went for that battle as well. And I don't know if Rowe understood that he was there, but D'Orlando was on the outside, and when Rowe let that car drift out at the exit of turn number 4, that's where they made contact.
Let's come back to Elliott Cox here right now. Elliott, again, all the racing you've done, Michael mentioned it early. It's patience, right? Especially you got a couple of guys here running for the championship. Miles Rowe, of course, needs the budget to keep going racing. What is it about racing? What is it about the red mist? What is it that we get so excited we want to make that pass, and patience is actually something you should be looking for?
Well, sometimes in the heat of the moment, it just kind of happens. I've experienced it multiple times. It's not something that you want, but it's something that happens. You have to learn to control it. I still really haven't mastered it all the way. It's just the patience, not remembering that the race is long, just trying to go for it when you have the opportunity instead of being smart and wait until like the next long straightaway instead. But when you're 7 cars deep in the front pack, you want to make the moves as quick as you can and get to the front.
And you look at Miles Rowe. He was leading the race, falls back to 3rd, gets in that battle with Fraser, and then D'Orlando comes. Rowe's just trying to keep it together and not lose any more positions. D'Orlando goes on the attack. You make contact, and again, it's that big picture, but you've got to get yourself reset, and sometimes that's extremely hard to do.
Right, it's definitely difficult, especially being 1-2 in the championship. It's just you want to stay in front, but sometimes you just get too aggressive and stuff happens.
I think it's an Ayrton Senna quote that say, if you do not go for the gap that presents itself, you're no longer a racer. You try to tell the young kids that don't worry about that. You can do that when you get to IndyCar.
We know it's Senna, but don't worry about that right now.
Just finish. Let's set you up here, folks. Right now, the leader up front, Jagger Jones, full course yellow here in USF2000. Again, in the second spot right now is the driver joining us, Alex Quinn. Billy Fraser up into 3rd. Thomas Naveau now runs 4th. And Spike Kohlbecker up into the 5th spot. He and his teammate Christian Weir have taken advantage of the attrition and moved up to 5th and 6th. Bajoy Garg now runs 7th. Jacob Douglas all the way from 19th up into 8th spot. Victor Anderson in 10th. And from dead last, 23rd, Jorge Garcias rounding out right now the top 10. Drivers who have had issues early were Chase Gardner. He was out early. Remember, Chase had a great starting spot. He only got 3 laps. D'Orlando and Rowe involved. We know we had the issue for Nicky Hayes as well and Jackson Lee, so a number of drivers with attrition. But it is Jagger Jones leading Alex Quinn and Billy Fraser right now. You know, Elliott Cox, let's get a chance. You're in our USF Juniors program. But give me a chance to talk about the logo on your shirt, Driving for Dyslexia. There's a ton of stuff that you do here in the Indianapolis area and even further with that, with dyslexia. I know it's something that you've dealt with in your life, but you've used that and that platform and you as a race car driver to really make some positive change.
Yeah, I'm a dyslexic race car driver. The reason I started Driving for Dyslexia was because of Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson was a dyslexic IndyCar driver. He is my hero. When he passed away in the wreck in Pocono, I think in 2015, I just wanted to carry on his legacy, and I thought starting a charity would be the best way to do it. I never dreamt that it would come as far as it has. We've raised over $200,000 for kids with dyslexia and funding teacher training scholarships, and it's just been really awesome and really great.
Let me add this to this, because those of you listening here right now, of course, we're at the PA booth at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Those of you watching on the road to Indy, Elliott's 14 years old. So how old were you when you started this foundation, this program?
I founded it when I was 10 years old.
Right? It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I look back on your career and that photo that you had when you met Justin Wilson as a racer, but as a fan. What was that like? You're meeting your idol, your hero.
It was unreal. When I was little enough to not really like pick up on the whole thing, I don't think. I wish I could have met him when I was older. Instead of just been in awe and kind of staring at him, I could have asked the right questions, right? But it was really crazy, really awesome. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to. Otherwise, I don't think any of this would have happened.
And the amazing thing about it, all the stuff you've done already, all the positive impact you've had, and you're so early in your racing career, right? You're only 14 years old. You're in our USF Juniors program, which is our development series that leads into the road to Indy. We're going to see you probably in USF2000 next year. You got a lot of good that you're going to be able to do over the next number of years.
Yeah, hopefully we can make it to IndyCar, and then my goal is to be the youngest winner of the Indy 500 and maybe have Driving for Dyslexia on the side of my IndyCar when I do it.
Another Indianapolis kid who wants to win the 500, right? Isn't that awesome?
That would be something. So what's it like to actually be here in the public address booth at a place that obviously you idolize? This is home for so many people, but to be an Indianapolis native, to be here, what sensation do you get at 14?
May in Indianapolis is magical, right? I've been fortunate enough to attain a suite with my team, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing, and Driving for Dyslexia, Seamless Roofing. We all acquired a suite this year, which adds to the experience for sure. Everybody that helps with my racing and just everything that's happened is unreal. May's unreal. Indianapolis is crazy. You just can't beat it.
And in the suite, you get all the fried chicken you could possibly eat, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah. It is delicious.
Let's add one thing. The driver's coming to turn number 7. We're going to go back to green. Now, you're still racing karts. What kind of kart brand do you race?
I race Willpower Kart.
On the Willpower Kart.
Nice.
And again, more connections to Indianapolis. Who runs the team?
Billy Vincent, who's also the on the pit crew for Felix Rosenquist. Chase Jones is down with Paps Racing right now. A ton of really great people. And then Kate Vincent does some of the catering for the IndyCar series, and she does the catering for the MPG Motorsports team, and she makes like the best food you can get at the racetrack.
Elliott Cox is locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded as the field makes our way through the final couple of turns as we get set to go back to green flag racing. Field approaches turn number 12. We'll see the pace car pull away. They'll work through 13 and 14. Jagger Jones, Quinn, Fraser, Naveau, Kohlbecker, your top 5. Weirgard, Douglas, Anderson, and Garriarsi are your top 10 as the field makes their way through that final turn. Rob, just about set to go back to green. We'll see if Jones can get the jump that he got at the start of this race as he makes his way down the front straightaway.
Green flag flying once again. Jagger Jones, the most recent winner, but I'll tell you, Alex Quinn is aggressive. He'll go to the outside. How about 3 wide? Billy Fraser going to the outside in turn 1, maybe 4 wide. Here comes Thomas Naveau. Who's going to lead out of turn number 1 around the outside? I think Fraser checked up a little bit of an issue there coming through turn number 2 onto the grass for Quinn, but I think it's Quinn as the leader, Fraser into second. Again, remember this, Fraser in the championship battle comes in here P5. Quinn doesn't have to think championship. He can think about race wins, and that's it. Another D-Force car jumping over top of the curbing there in the switchback of turn number 5 and 6, and there's another car off the racetrack. That's the 12 of Bajoy Guard. You can see right rear damage. Is he far enough off the racetrack to potentially stay green? We'll see. There's been a ton of contact, and I guarantee you the race directors will be having a chat with the USF2000 drivers. Barber Motorsports Park, we went green to checker in both races in USF2000, not so much here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Having a little look up at the starters tower there for Aaron Likens to see if he's going to pull some yellows. I'm sure he's waiting for a call, and indeed, full course yellow again. We are just not getting the green flag racing here for USF2000. Garg, who is 7th on the track, ends up with the issue there, right rear damage. Not sure where that happened, Michael.
It was down in turn number 2, and Bejoy Garg was running 7th. Contact clearly with somebody that put him off track just at the exit of turn number 2, and that's where that car sits, and that is the reason for our caution.
Well, they made it interesting. We went 4 wide down into turn number 1 on that restart. Quinn went to the bottom, actually Jones to the bottom, then Quinn, and then Fraser. I thought Fraser was actually going to run the outside and get it done, and Thomas Naveau came up there as well.
Well, when they went 3 wide and Fraser's out there, and then I see Naveau pop out, I'm like, we're really going to try 4 wide at Indianapolis.
Where are you going?
Right, exactly. He popped out there, though, and clearly it's such a wide front straightaway. You think you have that room out there, but it just funnels down into one.
We can come back to Elliott on this. I'll tell you what he was doing. He was going wide to try to do the over-under, waiting to see if they pushed off, right, Elliott?
Yep. I probably would have done the same thing, to be completely honest. If you see 3 cars going tight on the entry of a corner with a wide exit, try to maximize your run on the exit of the corner. Obviously, you couldn't do that with the contact in front of him, but had there not been contact, I think he had a great opportunity to maybe get 3 in one corner.
That's it, right? You do the over-under, they get checked up, or potentially in the grass on the exit. We've seen that countless times here on the opening corners of the road course at IMS. You get the over-under, and you just run the outside at turn number 2. You find yourself with 3 with the lead. I think we saw Artem Petrov, I believe, do something very similar to that last year in Indy Pro 2000. It's all about strategy, right? About placement on the racetrack.
Yeah, if you're not in the right place at the right time, stuff can go wrong. It happens in racing. That just is racing. But if you are in the right position, you can get really lucky, and it can go really well for you.
That's it. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right?
Correct.
Quinn, now the leader, though, as they run around the track, he was able to take the lead away from Jones. So Alex Quinn on the Velocity Racing Development Tatis leads in the 17. Jagger Jones runs in 2nd. Billy Fraser in 3rd. Christian Weir up into the 4th spot. Christian Weir started well down in the field. Remember, they were back. He was 14th. And with the attrition and some aggression, Christian Weir has worked his way up to 4th. Thomas Naveau now runs in 5th. Spike Kohlbecker in 6th. Jorge Garcias in 7th. Frankie Mossman up into 8th in his debut here in USF2000. Good for Frankie, staying out of trouble and able to work his way forward to 8th. Simon Sykes now runs in 9th, and Trey Burke rounding out the top 10.
All right, let's think big picture. And I know it's still early in the season, but we have 5 to go in this race. Jagger Jones with the incident down in turn number 4 with Rowe and with D'Orlando. Let's think big picture. Jones has a potential for a big championship lead as Denmark back in the 12th position. What do you do here? Do you ride this out? Do you battle, try to get that win and try to pad that lead? This big picture thinking, right?
Well, again, if you're on the pit box, if you're the spotter, you're the team owner, you're actually going to work to try to convince him that that's probably what you had to do. Now, granted, remember, he runs for Cape Motorsports. Those guys are always go for the win, and let everything else kind of play itself. But to be honest, for him, why not, if you finish 2nd, and you think about what's happened to there's an issue for Jacob Douglas. He's lost a front wing, so Jacob Douglas coming into pit lane, though he's currently 15th. They'll get a new wing put on the Tatis there. You can see it waiting, and the exclusive Autosport crew going to town there. You know what? Jagger's going to want a race win, but you are 100% correct, Michael. You can come into this weekend, get 3 podiums, a win here, a win there. This is momentum that leads you over to the Oval, because one of the big things, and Kiko Porto mentioned this to us when we did the pre-show on Road to Indy, the way they line up for qualifying at the Speedway is by the points. So if you're the point leader, you're the last driver to roll it onto the racetrack. You've got feedback from your teammates, from everybody. What's the track look like? To be the point leader coming to the Freedom 75 for USF2000 out at IRP is a huge advantage.
And that is a big event, that oval, and these drivers seeing an oval for the first time, only time. You have to be prepared and to be out front.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And points and a half.
Right.
30 points to win a race here, 45 points to win the oval race. So, again, a big race for those drivers. So, momentum through the month of May leads into the Road America race, which is kind of the midpoint of our season. If May at Indianapolis wasn't special enough, it becomes super important for these drivers because success here at a triple header and then the oval at IRP makes it crucial that you have a good month.
Well, let's see if what we discussed actually plays out and is heeded by Jagger Jones as he again runs in that second position. Quinn is your leader. Jones, Fraser, Ware, and Naveau, your top 5. Field makes their way through the south end of the course as the pace car starts to make its way ahead of the field and down pit lane. We will see a restart this time by. There will be 3 to go when they cross the start-finish line. So Quinn makes his way into turn number 12. A big race for him thus far. Sat in that second position, able to battle, get himself the lead. Jagger Jones was the pole sitter, battled in the front, currently running in that second position. Fraser running third. Ware is in that fourth position. Again, Naveau in fifth. Rob, the field making their way through turn number 14. We're going green with 3 to go.
This time, it is Quinn leading the way. He gets a really strong jump on Jagger Jones, who's going to have to challenge Billy Fraser. Fraser, the Kiwi in the number 92, trying to work his way down now into turn number 1. Here they come. Down the inside comes Jones. Fraser on the outside. He holds the spot. Book it. Billy Fraser by to go to P2. Fraser up into second. Jones falls down into third, and it's Alex Quinn up front. Finished 9th last year in the Formula Regional European Championship with Arden Motorsports. A bit of a step down here to USF2000, and he is handling it very well, leading his debut, his maiden event here in this Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. He gets a solid jump as they come out of the corner. They'll work their way down to turn number 7. We'll see what happens into 7. There's that lead, and Billy Fraser holding on to second. So a good start there for Billy Fraser, who qualified further down the field. Fraser started 10th. He has fought his way back up into second. A tremendous drive for the Kiwi. Does he have any pace to kind of reel him in here now as the laps are winding down? As Michael said, I believe it'll be 2 to go next time by. 2 laps remaining. Great jump, though, for Quinn.
And you said to watch Alex Quinn, and what a show he's put on. Patience, wait to the very end of the race, and he got the jump on that restart, able to gap himself as they make their way out of turn number 14, an 8-car length advantage over the machine of Fraser as he's running in that second position, but I don't think Jagger Jones is done just yet. Got a great run on Fraser, or Jones.
Yeah, here's the thing for Quinn. They're battling for second right now. He's been able to go away. The fight now is for second spot as they work their way again down, and here comes Jones to the bottom of the racetrack. No, that was Fraser to the bottom, ran the defensive line and did it well. Jones tried the outside, no over-under at all, so it's still Fraser running in second. Another driver down pit lane here right now. I believe that might be the, I figure which driver rolled down. Denmark, Jace Denmark in the 23 coming down pit lane, one of the drivers in the points championship. This thing is blowing wide open here for Jagger Jones, and it's going to play to Billy Fraser as well. Both those drivers, Michael, looking to gain a ton in the point standings.
I thought Jagger Jones was going to try to make a run, and he's right on the rear wing of Billy Fraser yet still. But with Denmark now falling off, it's big picture time.
Yeah, I almost agree with that. Both these drivers, there's no need for them to take each other out here. This is good points. Everybody else around them, first, second, and fourth, all with issues. So this is a good chance for Jagger Jones and Billy Fraser to advance themselves up in the points. Good pace. They've got good qualifying times for tomorrow as well. No need to make a mistake here. Doubleheader tomorrow as well on Saturday. White flag will fly this time by. And will Alex Quinn, the Brit, come over here and make his entrance in style? He rolls on the front straight, and indeed, they're battling for second. Quinn's just got to drive this one home. Fraser all the way down to the wall.
Billy Fraser about a car length advantage over Jagger Jones. Field makes their way into turn number 1. Quinn, your leader. This is the final lap of the race. And Jagger Jones tries to swing to the outside around Billy Fraser. Now tries to do the over-under. He'll get alongside to the outside.
They're going side by side through the corner. And oh, Jones goes off 4 wheels. Jones off a bit. Not sure if there was contact between he and Fraser, but they were trying to go for the same real estate on the exit of turn number 2 and 3. And Jones going off and expertly brings himself back on in third. So it's still Fraser running second. Quinn, though, out front. 1.6 was the margin last time by. We've had a number of drivers come into pit lane here in the last laps. had some issues, both Douglas and Denmark. Douglas back up into 14th, Denmark 15th, but through the 7, 8, 9, 10 complex comes Alex Quinn. Fraser second, Jones third, Weir fourth, and Naveau in fifth. But I'll tell you, we saw the announcement for this young driver coming over from Arden Motorsports, a new collaboration between Arden and Velocity Racing Development, Dan Mitchell's program, which also runs cars in our USF Juniors series. They've had a great success in the first 2 rounds at Ozarks and Barber Motorsports Park. But Alex Quinn getting it done right now. He'll work his way out of the final corner. We are going to see the checkered flag as they roll out here into the front straightaway, and he'll cross the yard of bricks. What a debut! First win for Alex Quinn and a first Road to Indy win for Velocity Racing Development. Alex Quinn with the win, 2.165 seconds, the margin of victory over Billy Fraser. Once again on the podium, great run for Fraser. And Jagger Jones on the podium as well in third. Christian Weir fourth, Thomas Naveau fifth. I'll tell you, they were racing the whole time, Michael. We do have a replay of this battle we saw. This is the 2 drivers side by side, Billy Fraser and Jagger Jones. We're going to lose them a little bit here. Man, that was just hardcore racing side by side. Man, the battle for second. You were saying they're thinking big picture. Jagger Jones was thinking P2.
Well, and you've got Billy Fraser right there now that's in the points hunt as well. So those 2 are battling in the championship. So lucky, Jagger Jones, when he's turning input right into that car on that grass, that back end didn't snap out and snap on him. That was a nice save and a nice job doing a little off-roading on the final lap of the race.
Let's cap off with our driver analyst here. Elliott Cox, would you have pulled the same move? Are you thinking championship, or you're like, man, I got to go for second?
It just depends where I am in the championship.
He's 14 and he's got more patience than the other guy.
I'd have probably tried to go for it.
You would have. You know you would have. Elliott, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it. Maybe we might have Elliott back in the booth sometime tomorrow as well. Great young man from Indianapolis, Indiana, running in the USF Juniors program. If you're looking for a young driver to support, he's definitely one to look at here. Elliott Cox, again, one of our front runners in the USF Juniors program. But, man, what a race win for Alex Quinn. That's a debut, Michael. Come on over here from England. Yeah, I might go try this Road to Indy USF2000 thing, and bam, a victory at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Well, you called it. What a talent. And for him to come out, and he just felt out that first couple of opening laps just in those battles, and then on that final restart really gapped himself. That was a very smart, very, very pro-like run, a veteran type of run for Quinn and the very first race he's had in the USF2000 series as we get set to see our final results. And there they are for you, Rob. Alex Quinn, your leader today, or your winner today.
Yeah, for the first time ever, Alex Quinn in his debut in the number 17 for Velocity Racing Development gets the victory. Billy Fraser in third, Jagger Jones fourth, Christian Weir in fifth, and Thomas Naveau sixth. How about 5 different teams in the top 5? Velocity, Exclusive Autosport, Cape Motorsports, Turn 3 Motorsports, and D-Force Racing in the top 5. Spike Kohlbecker coming up with his teammate Christian Weir into 6th. Jorge Garcias from 23rd up into 7th. Frankie Mossman from deep in the field as well up into 8th for a top 10 in his debut. Simon Sykes, one of the front runners in the points, getting 9th place points, and Trey Burke rounding out the top 10. But here's the driver. You can see the Arden Motorsports suit on the driver of that number 17 machine, Alex Quinn. Big victory for him. Interesting, he ran in the Formula Regional European Championship last year. Very similar car, same Tatis tub, different power plant, different tires, but that is a big victory for Alex Quinn. We'll get him up on the podium alongside Billy Fraser and Jagger Jones. Again, international field as well. You got the British driver with the win, New Zealand second, America third.
Talk about coming to Indiana, to the United States for the very first time, and your first race is at the Mecca of Motorsports, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You get a win. What a thrill, and we will have a victory podium celebration momentarily. I'll be curious to see his reaction once he gets up there with you on the victory podium.
Michael, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
That's Rob Howden. He is the voice of this Road to Indy program. Again, congratulations to Alex Quinn, your winner of race number 1 of 3, the USF 2000 series, and the Cooper Tires USF 2000 championship. I'm Michael Young, joined in the public address booth by Greg Rakestraw. Greg, we still have lots to do. As a matter of fact, we just saw moments ago the NTT IndyCar Series were on track for their first practice session. They'll be back momentarily for practice session number 2.
Absolutely. Again, you will see the other 3 rungs of this ladder. So
Sure,
the
once in a
IndyCar
blue
guys.
moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're going to need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper.
Chris Pantani, Director of Motorsports Marketing for Cooper Tires. Great to have Chris here with us. Of course, Cooper Tires on all the cars in this Road to Indy, presented indeed by Cooper Tires. What a battle. This driver coming from deep in the top 10, fighting his way forward, folks, for exclusive Autosport. Coming in second, Billy Fraser. Billy, I'll come on over to P2. And Dan Anderson from Anderson Promotions, the CEO of the Road to Indy and Anderson Promotions, will bring a second place trophy here to Billy Fraser, both Billy and Jagger making up big gains in the championship battle as the leaders having trouble on track. Folks first and second getting collected over in turn number 5. But the driver coming in here and making an absolute splash in his debut here in the Road to Indy for Velocity Racing Development. How about a round of applause? The British driver scoring the win today, Alex Quinn. Alex, come down here and chat with me first here. Give a handshake to the boys. So you come over to run here in America. You come to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What were your expectations and how do you feel right now?
I mean, honestly, I had no expectations, but I got on the track immediately and had a great car, so the team done a great job. They got me over here and they've provided me with a perfect car, so very happy for that, and yeah, extremely happy to get the win.
Lots of places to overtake. Of course, the restarts being exciting down in turn number 1. You made a really good pass for that lead. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's the most fun I've ever had in a race car.
That's good. Well, congratulations. Anybody you want to thank?
Just the team, really. They've been amazing. They've welcomed me over here. I knew a few of them from England previously. But yeah, they're a really well-run team. They had the car set up perfect, and the driver coach was amazing. So he was helping me out throughout the race, so he needs a big thanks.
Well, welcome to Indianapolis, welcome to the Road to Indy, and welcome to Victory Lane. Get on top here, folks. What a run for Alex Quinn for Velocity Racing Development. Mr. Chris Pantani will bring our P1 trophy into the driver who works with Arden Motorsports in Europe. A collaboration between Arden Motorsports and Velocity Racing Development here started this weekend. And Alex Quinn, who is familiar with that Tatis chassis running in the Formula Regional European Championship last year, able to capitalize today and giving Dan Mitchell and his Velocity Racing Development Group their first victory here on the Road to Indy. VRD runs a big stable of drivers in the USF Juniors program, our development series as well. But man, what a run for these drivers here to start off the triple header weekend. Quinn with the win. Billy Fraser back on the podium again. And I did apologize to everyone in New Zealand. I'll do it again when I thought that maybe Billy Fraser was involved in that incident in turn number 4 and 5. It actually wasn't. I'm sure Billy's mom was losing her mind back home. I apologize for that. But yeah, it's tough to see with the cameras we have and, of course, the dark-colored cars. Billy able to get through there and then go to challenge Jagger. Some great racing in USF2000. A little too much contact, but we hope to have a cleaner race for race numbers 2 and 3 tomorrow. Those of you enjoying the Road to Indy component of our events here this weekend, we do have the Indy Pro 2000s on track for their first race of the weekend. Triple header for both series, but they'll be on track again, as I said, later on today. But otherwise, a fantastic run. Alex Quinn for Velocity Racing Development, the British driver, scoring the victory here. Big drive for Billy Fraser coming home in second, and Jagger Jones rounding out the top 3.
Well, thank you, Rob Howden, as the champagne celebration begins. Again, congratulations to our top 3 finishers, Jagger Jones, Billy Fraser, the winner of race number 1 of the USF2000 Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Alex Quinn and Alex with a fantastic run today, Greg, and it has been truly an exciting morning as we step into the afternoon. We will bid adieu. I'm Michael Young, Greg Regstraw again joining me in the public address booth. We will do it all again tomorrow, but for these fans...